We're going to turn now to have Craig Uthe, or Craig in PA, who is known to many of you. He has ROS1 and is one of many people in this room who has become incredibly knowledgeable. There's a network that is somewhat involved with GRACE and other organizations that are doc-led, but often are really galvanized and working outside of that and have an incredible amount to teach each other and, frankly, to teach the medical community. And I thought it would be very appropriate to have Craig speak on really how can patients help themselves. The various organizations are doing great work, but you don't necessarily need to start an organization to help yourself and help move the field forward. So, Craig, thank you.
Well, they gave me this title, so I decided to work with it. And so the slides that follow are the things that you can read in between the lines of this title. Before I start, why am I holding a t-shirt up? Because this is the logo I've used as my avatar online, so people might recognize it. It says, Xalkori Trailblazer, Crizotinib inside. So, and it still is that way. So let me discuss some of these points. So first, title, expanding role of patient self-education in online communities. So the kind of work that Bonnie described earlier has been very important to us and made a lot of things possible, and we're very grateful for all that work. And she's gone far beyond that with all the other advocacy work she's done. She's really done a wonderful job, her and her organizations and all the partners she's working with. Let's see, which one is it, the left and right? Okay, so there's a supposedly Chinese curse, which really isn't a Chinese curse as far as anyone knows. May you live in interesting times, because that suggests it may be too interesting for you to handle, but we've been living in interesting times, and this has been wonderful for us. It has not just been interesting and challenging, which it has been oftentimes, especially with some of the drugs we take, but it's also hope. The interesting times we've had is all this wonderful research we've seen, and it's been hope for us. A new ray of hope, a new opportunity, a new way to extend our lives a little bit longer. So in that, there's been rapid research progress, as you know. There's been breakthroughs for non-small cell lung cancer, and then there's been a repeated breakthrough. They follow through on that. And, oh, guess what? First generation drug, now we got some second generation drugs. Oh, guess what? A third generation drug. And beyond that, we're gonna try to find other treatments that we use. This is a good, exciting, interesting time that gives us hope, so that's a wonderful thing for us. The information, though, this is a change from 30 years ago. This information is more accessible. You get to access it. You know this. You've been experiencing it. So have I. And meanwhile, you even get, with the advent of internet-based social networking forums or venues, you get to get support from a large number of peers who are very much like you, not just, oh, I went to a cancer support group and in the room there's someone with pancreatic cancer and prostate. No, 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 you've got a bunch of people with very similar cancers, and you can compare the side effects of drugs and ways that you might try to compensate for some of those side effects, and what treatments you might try next. So all good things. So this is a time, because of the progress that's been made lately in the research, and because of the changes brought on by the internet, it makes it possible to perhaps do more self-advocacy than at a time where the research is not making tremendous progress. So new discoveries take time as they're made to spread out. Your local clinical oncologist in Wichita may not know of the stuff that we've seen discussed earlier today. So this is an opportunity for people to do some more self-advocacy, hence, you know, the background, reading the lines between the words of the title. And then at certain points of this, an informed patient might actually be able to improve their own prospects, or at least their own comfort, or if not even those, at least it helps them understand their situation, and I think that has helped me become more accepting of my ultimately to be terminal condition. So the 80s, just to pick a time frame. You had local oncologists and nurses that you dealt with. They knew all the answers. It was hard to get any additional answers beyond that. There are some pamphlets, books, news reports, not necessarily up to date with the latest research, but it gave you a place to start. You relied on the experts in the room that were available to you, but they didn't necessarily know immediately the very latest breaking research, but then the very latest breaking research wasn't necessarily so earth-shattering as the things that we've seen lately. You had word of mouth from family, friends, friends of friends, well-meaning friends that aren't really as helpful as they think there are. Oh no. You have entertainment. You develop conjure up images of, oh my God, cancer on TV, everyone dies right away. No, this is different. And then 1990s start to make the change. You get AOL and Prodigy, and you have some online chat forums. These were walled gardens. They curated material that goes in there. You didn't get to see everything new, but it was a place to start. It was a step onto the current century where internet access everywhere, even in this hotel, not bad. World Wide Web, databases, web forums, great tools for us. Limitless sources of materials at your fingertips, well, almost limitless. Never quite the latest question you want an answer to, but close. You can get to this from anywhere. We have people in the various online forums that I'm involved with. They participate from countries around the world, so it's really been great, with just their ability to speak English being the most important factor to take advantage of some of that conversation and learning. There's all sorts of materials. There's published research. There's conference presentations. Look back there at the cameras. But there's also some misinformation, and there's some unproven things and disproven things and some unimportant material things. So don't believe everything you read on the internet, but it's at least it's a good place to start, and you can get some information that you can then go to your doctor with and find out whether it could create an opportunity for you. Also, there's databases online, so now you can look up journals, or at least the abstracts. Sometimes you can get the actual full articles if you want. You've got the forums that are you've got worldwide forums online. You can have chats with people, same disease, same drugs, compare all sorts of things. So let me move forward. So this is the example that I'm going to give. I'm not going to talk a lot about myself. If there's Q&A, that's another thing, but this is the one page I'm going to give a little bit of myself on this, where I was initially diagnosed adenocarcinoma. Maybe it looked like BAC. It has still been behaving like that ever since, which is a slower version that tends to stay within the lung. And at the time, it seemed less likely to be vulnerable to chemo. So this was not looking like good news. Seemed at the time like stage 2 because it didn't show up on PET scans, but BAC is kind of notorious for that. I guess maybe all slow cancers might be a little bit notorious for that. It doesn't light up on a PET scan everywhere that it is because it's slow. Understandable. So I was given the bum rush to surgery, and I decided I needed a second opinion and got a second opinion, and that surgeon said, I don't think this is what you thought. Saw his oncologist colleague, found out, oops, no, this is stage 4. We can see there's lung cancer here and then here, and we can see a spot of it up here. And guess what? I saw specks of it on the other 2 lobes on the other lung. So you've got cancer in every lobe of both lungs. You're stage 4. So obviously, surgery was not the choice for me. It made that surgeon, the original surgeon, kind of upset to cancel that. But it was the better choice for me in hindsight, much better. But still, I had bad news. What do I do? Let's go on for some testing, mutation testing. KRAS, you don't have it, good news. But they didn't expect that. You're a never smoker. You probably wouldn't have it anyway. Well, at least they didn't have bad news. EGFR, like 50% chance or something like that. Oh, sorry, out of luck there. Next one, ALK. At the time, I think they were saying 4%. Now they might say more like 5% or something like that. Odds seem like, well, geez, I don't think I'm that lucky. I'm usually not good. I'm not good when it comes to odds like that, so I don't think I'm going to be lucky. And guess what? I was not lucky. This is not looking good for Craig. What do I do? Well, I have an inquiring mind. I'm an an internet addict, in a sense. I'm always looking and reading stuff on the internet, and I'm a research addict, a medical research addict. Always loved to read about medical research, collected lots and lots of articles, and then I get lung cancer, and of course, I put all my attention to that then. So I go probing around, and I see, well, there's studies on other driving mutations besides the, oops, did I click a button? Okay. There's other driving mutations besides the first useful ones, and they're still exploring them, and for me, it would be a comfort just to know what my driving mutation is. I just want to know the name of my enemy so I can cope better, and maybe there'll be a piece of research someplace that helps me later on before I'm dead, since the prospects didn't look so good. Well, I talked to my local oncologist in Philadelphia, the one that I switched to after abandoning the ones in New Jersey, and he said, no, don't go to MD Anderson where they were doing a trial of like a dozen mutations. Go see Dr. Alice Shaw, a name you all know very well. I go there, she talked to me about some of the research, sounds promising. Said, well, we'll test you for this. And there's some other stories that go along with that meeting. But then, so I wait, 10 days later, get a call. Guess what? You're ROS positive. Let's check, see if we can get you into the trial as first-line treatment. Guess what? You're in. So I started pretty quickly. So from the time of diagnosis to first treatment was around 3 months. I start on Xalkori for ROS in that trial. I'm one of the first dozen people in the trial, hence calling myself a Xalkori trailblazer all this time. And I'm still alive, believe it or not, almost 3 years later, 3 years shy of a month. So this has been phenomenal for me. What do? I continue to use my love of the internet and medical research and try to pay it forward to all of you folks and other people around the world who I can reach to share this information. At the beginning of ROS, it was hard. Almost nothing was available, and it wasn't supposed to be because it wasn't published yet, so you can't say much. But I'd still go trolling for people who might be a candidate. You might want to see this person. You might want to get tested for that. Oops. So I've been doing that ever since. I'm still sharing things to the extent that I can find the time to do it and not distracted by some other things. I still love helping my peers understand their driving mutations, not just ALK and ROS, but even EGFR, although the EGFR peoples know that stuff way better than I do at this point because there's so many of them and they talk so much and they've carried the ball on understanding their things so well. And then the odds of benefit, the trials that are going on, the new trials, the side effects even, which can be a problem too. So thank you, all the people that made this possible, the researchers that make these drugs, the peers that help me find out about this and learn and make judgments on what I should try to do with my care and where I should go, the NIH PubMed that I look, ASCO and their publications, even Quackwatch to try to disregard some junk that's out there, countless others. And moving on. I think that peers can help each other and that who can diligently keep up on everything every day, especially every detail within a certain scope. An oncologist who specializes in it might, but your local community oncologist out in the middle of the country might not. So again, going back to my original theme, I think that because of the research, because of the tools that are available, you have the opportunity to perhaps help your local oncologist, if you don't want to have one of these super docs, learn about some of the things that might be of use to you, discuss to them the possibility, have them maybe talk with some of the experts you've heard of. This doesn't mean swamp them with a million questions. It means be selective about the things that might be useful, that look like they are being promising, they are showing results. Don't just list 15 things, but instead list one or two and mention specifically what makes you think that they'd be useful. So amateurs and peers can really help prep patients as well with their with lining up the kinds of questions to take to their doctors. So that's part of what we've been doing as well. Some sources quickly. CancerGrace.org. Anyone here hear of that? Yeah, okay, all right. Longevity.org, another partner helping to sponsor activities such as this one. Great. There's lots of others, though. There's LungCancerFoundation.org, Lung Cancer Alliance, Free to Breathe, LC. I know I'm missing ones. I just meant this is some sources. This is not all of them by any stretch. And ALK inhibitors Cancer.com actually is one that I sometimes like. There's a guy with ALK there who likes posting stuff about ALK. And this is great. It really makes your life a little bit easier to follow some of his postings. NIH does stuff. The Cancer Society does stuff. American Cancer Society. There's others. Even Livestrong, can sometimes be useful. There's a UK organization that seems to have a fair amount of information and dialogue. Sloan Kettering has a website for a lot of these herbal things you think may or may not help. They're a good site because they're objective. They'll say this is what the research is, and well, basically it doesn't prove anything. So you don't really. No, it doesn't necessarily really work. There's no proof, or they'll say it's been disproven or whatever. But it's a good reference source and from a credible source. And even Quackbot Watch. Some people say they go the other extreme. They think nothing is real, but at least it lets you see another point of view in comparison to the people who promote one thing or another. So next, databases and feeds. We mentioned these. I love NIH PubMed. I love the ASCO conference abstracts. The ASCO conference, there's abstracts of that. That's the very latest information I'm usually able to find. It takes a long time to get published in terms of months, not decades, but ASCO can show you the very latest presentations, and it might just be a summary bit of material rather than, it might take longer to write up a full paper, which might come later. And at ASCO, you can get a presentation on less amount of data versus the publication may require a lot more data before they'll publish it. Obviously, clinicaltrials.com, we go there looking for, Google News has a news feed. If you put in Google, and you search for some keywords like ROS1 or ALK, lung cancer, those sorts of things, they'll put a link on the results page that says something about subscribe to alerts. And you can get emailed Google anytime news articles show up mentioning that. So that's a useful thing too. So there's other things, the other database type things. This is like way too if you're a biochemist, you'll love some of these. And then drugs.com can sometimes be useful for some people when they have unusual side effects and they're wondering, is there any possible interaction of like this drug and this drug? So you can go looking it up. It tends to overstate the many things. There's forums, forums, the cancergrace.org. Longevity has one as well. Inspire, of course. The Cancer Society has one of their own, Smart Patients. You saw that mentioned on Bonnie's slides earlier. There's some others that I don't really use very much, but there's probably others in other languages. There's one that somebody told me is popular in China. I don't speak Mandarin and don't know what they're saying, but the person over there told me that that's popular over there. There's Twitter media that you've seen before, the lung cancer social media. You may know Squanch, Janet. She's been helping to participate in some of those often. And don't forget, there's still the old-fashioned style local in-person support things related to your local cancer center. Livestrong has a program at some local Ys as well to help you try to recover from past chemotherapy or other treatments and cope with them currently as well. So it takes a village. Individual can make a difference. No one person knows and remembers everything. The pros even have difficulty. But with the advent of the research at the same time as all the progress in the tools to make it accessible to you, you can tap the unlimited memory of the internet. You can tap the power of the collective community. It is available all the time. The comments have become, in these forums, have become increasingly research-based. So less speculation, less word of mouth, a little bit more of, there's this news article, there's this research, my doctor is doing this with me and it's working, kind of thing. It can be very useful. Not to mention just the mere emotional support we get from each other, the comfort tips, how to deal with side effects and things like that, just the fellowship among us, among each other. So caveats on the internet, I'll skip the details on this, but basically, you can't trust everything you read on the internet, right? So you have to be skeptical. There's ways to try to to protect yourself more, try to focus on more trusted sources than others. But even if you read an officially published journal abstract, you might not understand the details that are in the details of the full text. So read stuff with a grain of salt. There could be more to it than what you just see on the surface. If there's a particular study that has you wondering about it, your doctor might help you interpret that study, or somebody else who's willing to access it and look at it. So This is a little video clip. You've seen me refer to this before, so go ahead, play this short thing.
Where'd you hear that?
The internet.
And you believed it?
Yeah. They can't put anything on the internet that isn't true.
Where'd you hear that? The internet.
Oh, look. Here comes my date. I met him on the internet. He's a French model.
Bonjour.
There we go. Okay. So honor, respect, and appreciate. I wanted to take a moment to honor, respect, and appreciate the rock stars of research, the people who've been doing all the research. You saw a couple here before. There's been wonderful leadership of examples of this throughout this conference. We're incredibly grateful of these people who've made breakthroughs for us and are extending our lives. But it's not just the superstar rock stars. There's also the second liners that are doing research, working hard, may not be in the limelight, but is still helping make the progress that makes the next breakthrough possible. So all these people doing research, to me, they're rock stars, they're musicians. I love the music they're making for us. I get addicted to the music they're making for us. Next is heroes from experimental trials. There's people who preceded us. They took a gamble on something, and honestly, sometimes it does not work. Sometimes it has been bad. And yet, still, we go forward. We try to participate in the effort to extend our lives and help others behind us survive longer. And overall, it's been making progress, and it's been wonderful. So I want to show some honor, respect, show some appreciation for those heroes of our battle as well. And for example, the best example, Linnea, are you still here? There. Okay. She was my first hero when I came online came on online forums and discussions. And so next is also, I want to show honor, respect, and appreciation for predecessors who were too early to benefit from any of this. Yes, there are many of us who, didn't do nearly as well as us, but they might have if they were born in a different time or encountered cancer at a different time. So I really want to appreciate them for having been there before us. I'm sorry they got ill. I'm sorry they couldn't survive. But your experience has led to people wanting to invest in helping us, just as our experience is going to help all the research and drug companies, et cetera, want to take another step and then a step after that and keep making progress for us all. But I also want to thank each other, because you are in these categories and sometimes you're just a patient. But you're still able to share your experiences with each other. You're still able to help your families, which you might have had trouble doing before. And you still are important to us as well. And in particular, I'd like to point out today, just because they wanted to be here, but they could not be here. I don't know if all of you are aware, but there's somebody who is known online as AxelGen95, a couple. And unfortunately, Axel wanted to be here with Jen, but passed away on August the 31st. So he'll be missed by us all. He's contributed a lot in helping other patients as well, sharing his learning and experiences, paying it forward. So I just wanted to show some respect for this fellow. I don't have a slide for you, but his picture is online. I stole a copy of it. So thank you, Jennifer, for supporting Axel and supporting the rest of the community. And thank you, Axel. And I'm sorry that you couldn't be with us here today. We know that your efforts are helping people here in this room, helping other patients worldwide, and helping us go forward. This is my tagline. Every message I write on online forums, I always say, not best wishes, not best regards, not sincerely. It's best hopes. Because just like you saw at the beginning, we're living in interesting times. And that means hope. Even if it's bad news, even if we don't succeed forever, even then, there's an opportunity to have hope for those who might follow. So with that, I conclude with best hopes.